Greetings, and welcome to our third Indiana Healthcare Executive Network podcast. Our focus today is to facilitate awareness and open up discussions around creating allyships within several of our statewide leading organizations in healthcare leadership around diversity, equity, and inclusion. This is a mutual journey to promote education and support equity and inclusiveness for underrepresented individuals and groups. I'm Monte Spence, and I currently serve IHIN as a member of our board, as well as heading our newly commissioned Committee on Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. I also serve as the Chief Operating Officer for the Rehabilitation Hospital of Indiana, which is a joint venture with Indiana University Health and Ascension. Before we get started, we want to thank our IHIN sponsors that made this podcast possible. A sincere thank you to our premier sponsor, Ice Miller, our platinum sponsor, HEPE, and our gold sponsors, Arc Design, InnovCare, Cornerstone, and Katz, Sapper, and Miller. Today we'll discuss the mission and value of IHIN, the National Association of Health Service Executives, which is NASE, and Executive Women in Healthcare, and the importance of these organizations play related to diversity, equity, and inclusion at a broad level. Ultimately, we want our listeners to gain a better understanding in the roles and positions these organizations take, their value, and prompt an interest in learning more about them, as well as providing support for underrepresented persons within healthcare leadership. So, without further ado, it's my pleasure to welcome two distinguished panelists today, Alex Simonton and Kiley, Wanecke. Alex is originally from Carmel, Indiana, and earned her Bachelor's of Arts in Psychology from Spelman College in Atlanta, Georgia, and then obtained her Master's in Health Administration from Indiana University Fairbanks School of Public Health. Our other distinguished guest is Kiley Wanecke. Kiley earned her Bachelor's of Science in Selling and Sales Management at Purdue University. Kiley attended A.T. Still University School of Health Management and received a Master's in Health Administration. Kiley began her healthcare career with the American Health Network, which is also Optum, learning the basics of payer and provider reimbursement management. So for those who do not know, Indiana Healthcare Executive Network, which is IHIN, is the state chapter for the American College of Healthcare Executives, which I'll proffer is the preeminent professional organization for healthcare leadership. ACHE's mission is to advance leaders in healthcare via commitment to integrity, lifelong learning, and leadership advancement, including diversity and inclusion. More information on IHIN's value and mission can be found on our first podcast, episode 1, through our website. Now, let's jump in. In recent years, we, the IHIN board, challenged ourselves in terms of how we were living our value statement on diversity. Were we really being an advocate and promoting diversity, equity, inclusion through our chapter? I commend the board for their leadership at that time, for taking an open stance and being transparent as well as vulnerable to determine what we could do differently in support of more intentional DEI efforts. In turn, we modified our bylaws as well as our DEI statement, which you can also find on our website. So I'll read our statement as follows. IHIN embraces diversity within the healthcare management field and recognizes that priority as both an ethical and business imperative. IHIN values diversity and initiatives that promote diversity to improve the quality of the organization's workforce. IHIN also values and actively promotes diversity in its leaders and its members, as well as positively affecting the health status of our society. So, in short, some of our call to actions were, one, the board did agree and we made modifications to our bylaws to be more intentional in our support for DE&I. 2 was to promote and enhance DEI into our programs and our activities. 3 was also to align our strategic efforts with the national chapter and cascade goals down statewide. 4 was to create an executive DEI committee to develop and foster those intentional efforts throughout our programs and support of our membership. Respective to IHIN, our efforts on diversity, equity, inclusion will focus on all aspects in order to foster an inclusive environment, recognizing and supporting the advancement of all, including, and not limited to race, ethnicity, national origin, culture, abilities and disabilities, sexual orientation, gender identity, age, etc. Our goal is to support all of our members in that right. So Alex, please tell us about the mission of NASI.
Absolutely. So NASI was founded in 1968, and since then it's really filled a critical gap as the only organization focused on the advancement and development of Black healthcare professionals. And we're really seeking to ensure that Black professionals have equal and effective opportunity to contribute to the design, direction, and delivery of quality healthcare for all. And so there's tremendous value in being part of NASI, and to kind of paraphrase a common saying, if you can see it, you can be it. So from an empowerment standpoint, really seeing others who look like you, who are also navigating, growing or thriving in the healthcare industry, it's very inspiring. And so it was important for us to have a local chapter. Thrilled that we have NASI Indy. I wanted to make sure we could facilitate connections in the community and make Indy a place where Black healthcare professionals have an opportunity, and support for career advancement.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. And so proud of all the work and effort you've put into bringing the chapter to Indy.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Kiley, please tell us about the mission of Executive Women in Healthcare.
Yes, I'd love to. So Executive Women in Healthcare is the place for women in healthcare in Central Indiana to become a part of a deeply connected and fun group of individuals. So it's kind of funny because we rewrote our mission statement probably 5 years ago. We had, the strategy consultant there, and we're doing a workshop, and we went back and forth with including the word fun for like 2 hours, but we ended up including the word fun because we thought, you know what? Life can be stressful. Life can be busy. We're all working women in healthcare. How can we incorporate an element of fun into our organization? So we've been around now. It's our 30th year this year. So we're celebrating at our upcoming October luncheon. And again, the primary goal of the organization when we first began was a couple ladies got together. They were in healthcare, I want to say from Hall Render, healthcare law firm. And they thought, we don't have a place for us women to really network, but also be educated. And is there something we could do together to create a forum or a platform for women to be able to just connect and learn from one another? So, a lot of it is learning, empowerment, professional and personal growth. And I'm proud to be a current board member, and past president of that group.
So, Alex, what are some of the key issues your constituents face within healthcare?
I think really two of our key issues are disproportionate representation among healthcare leadership positions and clinical roles, as well as healthcare disparities. And so with regard to representation, we know that an inclusive environment can enhance the quality of healthcare and improve hospital and community relations, and really just impact the overall health of society. And when we don't have Black and brown professionals leading healthcare organizations, serving as clinicians for these organizations, it does lead to healthcare disparities, which is the other challenge that I highlighted. So I would say those are the two key issues that are keeping us up at night. We're really trying to expand and diversify the workforce pipeline, and really ensure that culturally competent care is delivered for everyone.
Thank you. Thank you. Kiley, same question.
Yes. So I've been a part of this group about 10 years now, and I know we've made a lot of advancements for women in healthcare leadership roles, but it still is one of the biggest concerns among our membership as well. On average, women make up about 80% of the healthcare decisions in the consumer market. They make up about 65% of the workforce in healthcare, but they're only about 13% of C-suite female leaders. And I know that number is likely even lower for minority women as well. So on average, it takes women about 3 to 5 years longer to reach that CEO role. And so one of the concerns, again, is what does that track look like? What is that pathway? What are things we need to be doing to help empower women so they feel equipped and ready to take that position when it presents itself? Again, IU Health does a great job. I will put a plug in for them of hiring women in leadership positions. And again, compared to other Fortune 500 companies, healthcare does have a lot more female representation, but that is still one of the ultimate concerns. The second one is women are at the point where, 2020, we had some of the lowest women in the workforce since the 1980s. Women were fleeing the market primarily, or their jobs primarily because of the pandemic. They had to go home. They had to be with the kids. Daycares were shut down, jobs were shut down. And so an evolving change, I think, that we've seen over the past year or 2 years really is how can we meet those women? How can we get them re-motivated, re-engaged to get back into their careers, feel fulfilled and satisfied in what they're doing? So those are the two primary concerns we have from our group today.
No, thank you. Thank you for that. So in terms of, if I were to speak on behalf of IHIN, right, I think our position is just a little bit different, right? Where there's two very specific focuses for NASI and Executive Women of Healthcare, right? Mm-hmm. So with IHIN informing the DEI committee, it's more so looking at our membership in totality, in broad, going back to those different groups that we talked about earlier, and helping to support and provide awareness and education, seeing how we can support all members in an underrepresented population and kind of help further efforts in that regard. So I'm not going to proffer to say that I'm an expert in any of those areas, right? But my intent is to kind of help facilitate those discussions and those initiatives to kind of help improve the characteristics, improve the outcomes, improve the opportunities, for all those populations. So I mean, that would be how I guess IHIN's focus on DEI would differ a little bit slightly from both your organizations. So.
Yeah. Well, and ACHE is 40,000 members nationally. EWHC is 150 members in Central Indiana. So one of the things too that I really appreciate about IHIN is it's national, and you're able to get your accreditation. So the FACHI is a highly esteemed. I'm sure for those watching that they're aware of what that is, the accreditation, and that it's kind of an affirmation of your work in healthcare as being a leader. And so I really appreciate that component. And then also the capability to get credits when attending IHIN events is really intriguing for me.
Alex, same question for you. Why dual membership?
Yes. So I really value networking, relationship building, and really serving organizations that are making a difference in the community. And I think with both IHIN and NASI, there's really excellent networking, educational programs, as well as opportunities to lead and serve. But I think for me, a key distinction between IHIN and ACHE and NASI is really that piece that you touched on, Kiley, with ACHE offering the FACHI credential, and it recognizes leaders as for their expertise in healthcare management. And so that really signifies professional competency, and it is a demonstration of your commitment to continuous improvement. And I think it helps you stand out in the job market, especially in a kind of traditional healthcare role. And so I'm currently part of one of ACHE's programs. It's the Thomas C. Dolan Career Accelerator Program. And it is actually for diverse minority healthcare leaders. And it's a program that's expediting my fellow journey, which I'm thrilled about. And so that's one of the benefits of being at such a large, renowned organization such as IHIN and ACHE. And I think with NASI, that's really provided a network of mentors and mentees. And really from a content perspective, NASI meets my need for covering, issues that are relevant to Black healthcare professionals and from the Black lens, which is something you don't always see with other programming and educational events across organizations. It can be hard to find Black and brown voices, and I think that's really NASI's focus. So I appreciate that aspect.
Excellent, excellent. And congratulations being accepted into the Thomas Dolan program.
Thank you.
That was just
very
recently,
excited.
wasn't it?
Yes, very recent. We've just had our first couple of sessions so far.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. Yeah, you're really just getting started. All right. So if I were to ask myself that same question and say, why am I a member of ACHE as well as NASI? I agree with both of you wholeheartedly in terms of how you've expressed that meaning, that value of being a part of ACHE. I completely agree. I definitely think ACHE is that preeminent professional development organization for individuals in healthcare across all spectrums, across all colors and backgrounds, and across the diversity spectrum, right? And I think they provide wonderful education, wonderful programming. I mean, just the best of the best. And I'm not saying that because of the podcast. I'm saying that because I've been a member of ACHE for probably close to 20 years or more now. And it's just a great organization. Respective to NASI, it is more so of the dedication and focus to the minority population, of which I am also a part of. And so it is that community, that support of individuals coming together to continue to support one another and promoting their growth, their development, supporting equity. And again, they do absolutely phenomenal job in terms of programs and education and things of that nature. So one, where IHIN and ACHE gives me more of a global kind of viewpoint or focus, where NASI now is more a little bit closer to home in terms of again, community and support for one another in that arena. So Kiley, I'm going to start with you.
Okay.
So what are ways our organizations can work together?
So we've been talking about this probably for the past, several years. So I believe that Executive Women in Healthcare at one point was a carve-out association, not carve-out, but we had partnered with you guys and with ACHE and IHEN in the past. And we started looking at old documents and old things and thought, hey, let's reinvigorate that conversation. Let's see what a partnership could truly look like. So during our strategic planning session last fall, we said, let's partner with two organizations throughout the year, one of which we partner with a lot is Healthcare Financial Management Association, and then started having conversations with Rodney to see, okay, what can we do? What might this look like? Is it a partnership on a panel or otherwise sponsorship opportunities or something like that? So I think what we've been doing right now that Corey's been really great about is kind of cross-promoting our events, making sure, we have maybe an IHEN discount at some of our events, because again, it's similar audiences. We don't have a ton of crossover in our membership, but I think it's enough to, add it as an added value add for our members. Like, here, check this one out over at IHEN.
Absolutely. Alex, what do you think?
Yeah, I would echo what Kiley stated in terms of cross-promotion of events. That's huge. And I think there are a lot of collaboration opportunities with NASI, IHIN, EWHC. And I think that, we, in addition to that, I would say as we are building out our roster of Black healthcare professionals, we're going to be able to help support diversity in terms of the panels that other organizations are creating, right? So we'll be able to recommend folks with certain expertise for IHIN panels in the future or EWHC panels. And I think that'll be another key piece and how we can come alongside to support diversity across all of these different organizations. And then I think another piece of this too is, challenging one another to be really accountable for what we're stating in terms of our DEI goals. And I think, when you have that foundation as colleagues and we're having these vulnerable conversations, I think that really opens the door for progress and accountability to be in place. So I think, continuing to have these kind of conversations is key in terms of how we can collaborate.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I think too, I think you hit on, I love where you kind of mentioned goals and objectives too, right? So, and that definitely makes perfect sense. So as our organizations, our respective organizations are coming up and determining goals and objectives for the year and the years to come, I think that provides and lends a great opportunity for us really to work together. And again, it's pooling the resources and seeing, and helping each other be successful in those goals. So I say, for example, NASI, and Alex, you've put on several programs so far in the last few months,
Yes.
right? And Kiley, I know you have some programs coming up on diversity as well, and so do we at IHIN. There's one coming up in September. So, and to a degree, we're all kind of looking, towards the same topics or bent on the topics. I definitely think it makes sense to work together in terms of, we're in 3 organizations searching for 3 different panelists or panels, for these topics. What are things that we can do together? Again, it's that allyship, is working together. We all have the same intent, right, to improve outcomes and opportunities for our populations, our constituents.
Right.
So how can we do more of these things together? Again, we're all a part of ACHE, we're all a part of IHIN, but again, we have these special groups on the periphery, and how do we kind of help pull those in together and continue the march forward?
And I think too, another key piece of this is, promoting dual membership. I think, if someone were to ask me about IHIN, I would never discourage someone from joining. I've benefited tremendously from IHIN. Same with NASI. And I think, being advocates for all of these respective organizations is key. And just continuing to, tell the story as to why we're in both of these organizations and how you can get a lot out of both of them.
I actually just got an email before I came here with the MHA program. I met with their program director last night at the IHIN event. And Rodney and I were talking, and Rodney was like, I don't know if I can go talk to your MHA students about IHIN, but Kiley, would you want to go and talk about both IHIN and EWHC? And I'm like, yes, because they do offer different things. There's value in both of them. How do you communicate that message to have dual membership to students? So I'll let you guys know how it goes, what the feedback is. But I'm excited to be able to share that type of message with them.
No, absolutely, wonderful points. And, in addition to our respective organizations, I also want to make note that in recent, I had an opportunity to talk to a young lady here about starting up a NALI chapter, so the National Association of Latino Health Service Executives. And so right now she's doing the grassroots efforts to, similar to what you did, kind of build the consensus and get it off the ground. And I hope they're very successful in doing that. And again, I think this is where we can all, again, come together and see, how can we support other organizations and lift them up and help them be successful as well. So I'll just kind of open up for any closing remarks that you guys may have. Is there anything else you'd like to share with us, Kiley?
Sure. Thank you again for the opportunity to talk about EWHC and talk about this important topic with you guys today. I really appreciate it. So one of the comments you just said, one of my favorite books is the Go Giver book. I don't know if you guys have heard of this. So Bob Berg. And one of the quotes in there is, "The most valuable gift you have to offer is yourself." So it's all about, how do you build up others? How do you empower others in a selfless way, which ultimately, brings value to your life. And so just like you're saying, how can we partner with other groups? How can we lift each other up to really support all these different initiatives, knowing that we may have slightly different missions, but ultimately I think our goal is the same. So just a closing remark for any of the women watching, mentor your younger employees if you can. If you see someone with untapped talent or somebody with some ambitions in some of your healthcare networks, don't be afraid to go kind of grab them and say, hey, do you want to grab coffee? And the same goes for the younger generation, students. If you see some lady you really admire at one of the events, go up and talk to them and start a conversation, because through mentorship, whether formal or informal, that's kind of how a lot of these relationships can build. And the same if you see a gentleman at an event too that you're like, he is just awesome, like Monte, like be my mentor, something like that. So, yeah, not true. And then as far as next events, as Monte referred to earlier, August 10th, we have a diversity, equity, and inclusion panel, Be a Better Ally. And we have some really brilliant panelists that will be speaking about similar things that we're talking about today, but more concrete, like how you can take this back to your workplace and what this looks like in real life. And then we have our next event is October 26th with Dr. Sue Elsperman, who's the president of Ivy Tech. She'll be our keynote for our 30th anniversary luncheon. Both events are at Meridian Hills. You can check out our website at ewhc.org.
Thank you, Kiley. Alex.
All right, so I do have a few calls to action on behalf of NASI Indy. First, follow us on LinkedIn, the NASI Indy chapter, and then check out our brand new website, www.nasiindy.org. We're really excited about the new website. It's where we're going to showcase all of our upcoming events, including our new Summer Social Series, where we're going to host some networking opportunities for our members and prospective members. Anyone interested in the organization, stay tuned for details. And again, it's just an opportunity to network and grow your network.
So thank you, Alex, and thank you, Kiley, for joining me today. Just kind of opening up the dialogue and having these conversations to help further initiatives in diversity, equity, inclusion for our respective groups, as well as our overall membership. So it serves such a meaningful and wonderful purpose, and definitely look forward to working with you guys as we continue this journey together. So thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Monte.
Yeah, thank you, Monte.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. Again, I'd like to thank our sponsors for making this podcast possible for you today. Our premier sponsor, Ice Miller, our platinum sponsor, Heapy, and our gold sponsors, Arc Design, InnovaCare, Cornerstone, and Cat Sapper and Miller. Thank you again for joining us today, and we definitely invite you to view IHIN website at indianahen.org, or just Google it, might be easier, for more information about our upcoming events, networking opportunities, and getting engaged. Thank you all. Have a great day.